Hello, my name is Jake, and I am obsessed with Greta Van Fleet. I am starting a channel here because I just want to talk about Greta Van Fleet virtually all the time, and that is the goal here. Now, it probably won't be the only thing we talk about, but it will be the main thing. And I figured a good place to start is to explain what happened that has me so extremely into them. And I will give a little bit of backstory. I guess you are watching this video and it's mine. I don't need to give you my whole life story, but I do love setting the stage because it took a long time. And really, if I look back, like all the way to childhood, full on therapy session, let's do it. I was raised and loved rock and roll more than any kind of music out there. It was from both parents. My mom was like a diehard Bon Jovi, who I'm not a big fan of, I'll be frank. She was listening to Heart, to Journey, Styx, a lot of the classics. My dad was more the Led Zeppelin, Hendrix, etc. Also, my dad's never done drugs, so don't ask me to explain that one. But that was the soundtrack of my childhood, and it essentially led to me believing that rock and roll is God, for lack of a better word. Obviously, I know it's not God, but like that is the level of appreciation that I have for it. And I really, as I grew up and started listening to other genres, it was always very much real. I do like pop music to a point, but I love hearing real instruments. I listen to a lot of punk, hardcore, even some death metal, country here and there. Like I listen to virtually everything, which a lot of people say don't mean. I listen to virtually everything except dubstep. Never caught me. But with that, rock and roll was always the centerpiece. I would have spent 32 and a half years of my life telling you Led Zeppelin was my favorite band. I still believe they are the greatest band of all time. But it was Led Zeppelin, Queen, Fleetwood Mac. I really loved, especially early Fleetwood Mac. Like that was always the centerpiece of what I was listening to. And while I bounced around, that is core. And it really that godlike feeling that it can bring of the guitar gods was so instrumental that it got to the point of like I used to wonder like why can't this exist now? And I genuinely believed rock and roll was dead. Like I thought it could not exist, and I kind of had come to this point where I believed that the world was just perfect at the time. And not that the world was perfect, but it was perfect for that music. The change of technology with guitars and audio equipment, as well as the drugs, of course, which we pretend aren't around anymore. The hippies just look different now. The drugs are still there a little bit, but that perfect combination, like technology is just kind of gaining a foothold in society. It was a very interesting time, and I thought this built that perfect environment that fostered rock and roll, and that is long gone. We got the phones in our pocket all the time. We've just lost so much of what life was back then, and I just believed that environment was what it took for rock and roll. Now, as I got older, I was playing in bands. Obviously, I played them pretty seriously until I was about 24-ish, 25, probably 2014. And then I went into tech software. Like I took a year off. I did some very light schooling and got myself a software job. For 5 years, I've been at that company, various roles. Very good job. Very happy I made that life decision. But the music fell by the wayside. At least playing music fell by the wayside as I just dove into learning something completely new. But I was always listening. I was always looking for new content, new things to listen to, new bands to like, and of course I found a lot of good music in those years. But it led to me not getting hooked on Greta Van Fleet actually. Now, day one, the first time I heard them, it was before From the Fires was even out. I had a friend come over who me and him had spent a lot of time listening and playing music together, and he was like, "Have you heard Greta Van Fleet? They sound like Led Zeppelin," which there was probably a part of my problem right there. Of course, while I listened to them, I was in love. I was like, this is perfect. I can't believe this is real. And I was sold. Like I was in. There were only the 4 songs at the time, but I was like, this is amazing. I am so into it. And over the next couple of weeks, I just very, very quickly lost my interest in the band. Now my feel well, I don't even have to explain. I know exactly what it was. It was really a skepticism from believing that it couldn't exist. I didn't believe rock and roll could exist. Therefore, this is clearly a cheap imitation. These kids just grew up and listened to the right music. They learned how to walk the walk and talk the talk, but that's all it is. And I was wrong, obviously. But I went through that brief little phase, and then I really stopped listening to them. But if I ever get just a glimpse of something I like with a band, I will listen to anything they put out. So Anthem of the Peaceful Army comes out. I did like When the Curtain Falls. I thought that was their best song. It's one I very, very occasionally would listen to. We were Rock Band players for the millennials out there. Bought it on Rock Band. It's fun to try and sing along with him. I'm terrible at that. Didn't hook me at all. And fast forward a few more years, COVID hits, they release Heat Above, first single off of the Battle of Gardens Gate. And that was the first song that I feel like I actually got into. I started listening to it pretty frequently. It made its way into my playlist. I'd catch it on shuffle. It was being recommended on Spotify, YouTube, etc. Like it kind of came into the fold. But the funny thing was, still with a song that I actually liked, I still just felt like it was not believable. Now, that was a great song. It was my favorite song of theirs for years before I really liked them. And the Battle at Gardens Gate, fantastic album, comes out on my 30th birthday, which like should probably be a sign. I did just have my first child, so I was distracted for sure. I definitely listened to that album, but to be frank, I don't even remember listening to it. When I came back and revisited it after I kind of heard what was really there and got hooked, it was like listening to it for the first time. So while I'm certain I did, it was definitely only once. I didn't like it. I don't know how to explain myself. I was young and dumb. So fast forward even further. And as they flip me the finger in the background, this is where you do start to see some things very rapidly change for me. So they release Meeting the Master, and we're a little bit ahead on the picture there. They release Meeting the Master, and I'm like, this is really good. This is another song that I like. I can listen to. I'm into it. And then they announce the Starcatcher World Tour, and it is coming to Salt Lake City. Now they had been to Salt Lake City. I was young. I was poor. I did not go, obviously, but I was like, even if this is fake, this song is good. I like a couple of songs. They're clearly incredibly talented players. I'm gonna go see them. Well, I've never lived in a world where you could go see a real rock and roll band in their 20s, and I've seen some greats, but it's a little different seeing somebody at 65 than it is at 27. So I'm like, I'm gonna go, and I can't get anybody to go with me. Now, I don't give up, of course not. I'm putting out feelers. Nobody really wants to go, and frankly, it's probably a lot to do with me because I don't really like this band. Like, how do you sell your friends on going when it's like, hey, let's go see this band? I don't really like them that much. I don't really believe that they're like the real deal, but like they're kids in their prime. Let's do it. Like, man, doesn't that sound appealing, right? Like, let's go see a band I don't like. Um, Eventually, and I'd asked a lot of people, a lot of family, a lot of friends. Eventually, my brother sends me a link to the Meeting Master video, and he's like, "This is actually really good." And I'm like, "Yes, it is. Please come with me." And I'm certain I'd asked him before, and that's why I'd sent it. And he was like, "You know what? I'm in. Let's check it out." So I start to look for tickets, and at this point, I'm still very skeptical, but as I start to look at tickets, we set a budget of like $150, and I am like, looking all the time. The upper bowl of the Delta Center is like 130, $140. The lower bowl is $200 to $300. And then there's this one set on one website is $180, front row on the floor. Now there of course is a GA section. It is not against the stage, but I'm like, that's tough to beat. And it's a $30, $40 jump from sitting at the very back. And I look at that, and they are out there for 2 to 3 weeks, which is insane to me. I don't understand it. Like, I'm seeing tickets sell at other parts of the stadium from other websites, from this website, and they just sit there. And eventually I'm like, I didn't even ask my brother. I was like, I'm doing it. I'm pulling the trigger. I buy those tickets. They are front row, a little bit off to the right. We're gonna have the barricade to stand on, and felt pretty reasonably priced. Like a month later, I'm on vacation with my brother, and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to tell you. I hope you're really going because I bought tickets and I spent over what we had agreed to budget. Of course, I told him like I would eat the money. It was my decision. I don't expect you to commit to something more. He paid me because, of course, he's a good brother. Filled in for me just making a decision without him. Appreciate that, and thank you for going. It was a very magical night, as you can imagine. I look back on sitting here making a video. So we're going. We like don't make any plans the day of. He's like, when do you want to go? I'll drive. And I'm like, I don't care about the opener. And he's like, it's Teddy Swims. We should absolutely go see him. And I didn't realize it was Teddy Swims. It had changed. I wasn't following the band. It was a different band that I had no interest in. But it's like, okay, Teddy Swims, really good. I didn't realize who he was right off the bat, but did realize that I knew him from YouTube, and he was phenomenal. Put on a great show. We got there early, listened to Teddy. His music's phenomenal. I have his record in the living room. It might just be because he got the magic of the night, but I enjoy it. And then Teddy leaves, and the curtain drops. Now, there is like this longing in me, like I really, really want this to be good. Like I hope it is. I hope there's something that I've missed, but of course I'm extremely skeptical, and frankly, like that side of me has never gone away since. I've always been very skeptical. But I'm sitting there, the curtain's down, and I'm like, I don't know why they're not playing when the curtain falls. I had looked at the set list because, of course, I was just curious. I was very heavy Starcatcher, which I had listened to the album at this point. Wasn't that into it. I enjoyed a few songs, but just wasn't that hyped. Like everything else they'd put out. So that's where I'm at. And then the curtain drops. And they're just standing there. And I'm like, man, I thought we were at least coming out with a bang. Like I get you're not going to play the song, but like the curtain should fall with an epic guitar riff or something. No, they're just standing there. Just four guys, and Josh is like, good evening. Let's have some fun. And of course he was more excited than that. But I remember looking and just being like, what is this lame intro to the show? This is so stupid. Now, I realize, and having seen them do this since, that it's like, oh no, that curtain drops. And those who have seen them or know, like realize there are four icons standing there. That in itself is a big bang. So Jake kicks into the falling sky. The riff is cool. The earplugs come out. Like I want the full force explosion as the whole band kicks in. And I'm like, okay, this is good. This is loud. They sound fantastic. Like I clearly can see that they put on a good show. They've got terrific lighting, and they play the first half of the song. Josh then takes on a harmonica solo, which of course is a part of the original song. And then, hello. I had to make sure there was butter in the freezer. The kid's third birthday is tomorrow. Very exciting. So let's see that the curtain drops are staying there. She called it the fucking best part. I'm trying not to swear too much, but I'm definitely going to. The harmonica solo happens, and then they just take off into this dueling harmonica guitar solo combination that obviously is not a part of the song on the album, and is just coming from outer space. It is coming from the ether. and he is just shredding. And he comes out on the catwalk, kind of right in front of where our seats are, and I'm like, damn, was I fucking wrong about this kid? He is the real deal. He is a top 10, probably top 5 guitar player of all time. And I am witnessing him, as I said, in his prime. Sounds super cheesy. And this is like the first 4 minutes of the show. And like my skepticism is gone. Like, this is so magical. This is the gods that I've heard about for my entire life. And they are here in a second coming of rock and roll. And then the fire kicks in as the chorus kicks back in. And I just remember, like, I'm certain, like, I was just eyes wide, mouth open, in complete disbelief. Like, this is the greatest thing I have ever seen. And my brother, who is with me, says something along the lines of like, "This is so awesome." And like, I wouldn't talk to him. I was so sucked in. He said 3 or 4 things to me in the first handful of songs, just remarking that it was like very good. And I literally like wasn't I was just like, leave me alone. I'm listening to this. Like, couldn't respond. And like, I'm hooked. And I didn't realize how hooked I was, but like, I was just in complete awe. It was changing things very drastically. They play 4 or 5 songs. They play Lover Lever for like 25 minutes, bass solo, just tons of guitar soloing. There's a drum solo, and then a couple of them pop up on a stage behind us. Now, this is where the seats then become the greatest seats in the world. I am on a barricade the whole time. I'm sitting there and I mean, I get 3-4 inches on the steel. I can lean on the barricade, very comfortable. I am 32, aka an age where like you tell people how old you are, even though you know you're not. But also, the brother next to me is a big old bitch, and I've seen him leave concerts recently over having to stand. So thank God it was there, because I may have just been stranded if he wanted to leave. I was not taking off. So we turn around to watch the acoustic set, and we are in the perfect seats. We have that elevation. You get a kickback on the barricade, and I could just see over the whole crowd. Doesn't matter which stage they're on, I'm seeing over everyone. They play Unchained Melody, and then they play Waited All Your Life with all 4 of them. And what a magical moment that was. It was genuinely, and I took a video, one of the few times I took out my phone that night, of just this magical environment, just 20,000 people staring at 4 guys with 3 acoustic instruments on a tiny little stage. They're just down in the middle of them, and he's singing "Waited All Your Life," and I'm just like, "You're goddamn right. I've waited all my life for this." And like the thoughts of like, this is a ripoff, like, they're all gone. Like, they immediately kill those. And we do actually speak for the first time, my brother and I, after they play another song. They're walking through the crowd back to the stage, and as I turn by him, and I shouldn't look away from the mic, I know it, but as I'm turning, I'm like, "This is fucking incredible!" And like the only words I spoke to him until we left. They come back, they play for another hour and a half. Just smash the mic, real pro move. And that's the first night I see Greta Van Fleet. Now I walk out of there. My wife is an early to bed type. She is asleep, but I text her, and I text her in a very non-committal way. I just say, "I think that was the greatest show I've ever seen." And of course she's like, "I was shocked. I know you didn't really like that band." And like the next morning, I'm like, "I don't know what I believe. I don't know what I saw. That was crazy." So I go to work. It was a weeknight. I think it was a Wednesday. Maybe it was a Thursday. And I go to work and I'm like, obviously I'm going to listen to this. It was that good. And it is like hearing it for the first time, truly. Like I just go shuffle Greta Van Fleet. Every song is perfect. They are just amazing at every style of music they play, no matter what they do. They are flawless. With 4 albums, 3.5 albums in, whatever you want to call it, like it is all gold, perfection. And like I just needed them to come to my state, shake me awake out of my nonsense, and like I was in and I was hooked. Now, it took a couple of days for me to like almost come to, and like of course I'm working, and then I'm just like, man. And as I'm running into people, I'm telling them like it was fucking good. Like all the people I'd asked, all the people I tried to get to go, I've like responded and been like, you messed up. You needed to be there. I will never miss a chance to see that band again. And that is how it feels. I'm pulled that strongly, where it's like Zeppelin exists in the world, basically. And they are my favorite band over Led Zeppelin. So I'm like, man, if you could go back to the 70s, see Led Zeppelin for under $200, and they were going to be close to you in proximity, you would go. You would go every time. And I started looking, and I was like, I've not paid attention to this tour, obviously, but I'm looking and I'm like, they are on the West Coast for 10 more days. They're in California twice, and then they're in Vegas the Saturday the following week, and then it's like a month off, and it's all east from there. They don't have any other tour dates. More would come, but I start looking, and I'm like, I cannot go see them again. Of course not. And then I'm like, Vegas? I'd been to Vegas a few times. Like we drive down to Vegas, lovely. Been on some very short trips, and I'm like, maybe I could go to Vegas. And I'm looking, and I have long-standing plans on that night. We have tickets to Beetlejuice the musical, which I was very excited to see. And you'll note I did not see it. I still wish I could see it. My wife had seen it on Broadway. It is one of her favorites. Beetlejuice is one of my favorite movies. I love my wife. And still, having had these tickets for 6+ months, I went to her and was like, babe, I gotta go. I'd thought about it for a few days. This is like Tuesday, the show's Saturday, and I was just like, I am going to do it. And she, of course, had seen me just like wrestling with trying not to admit that I loved Greta Van Fleet like a real classic rock band. So I start seeing who can I get, and I'm like, I would go by myself, but I don't. I would have. I didn't want to. I was trying to avoid that. I was telling myself I wouldn't go by myself. I start trying to see who can I get, and one of my very best friends in the world, someone I work with, name of the Durs, legal name for the record. Durs actually gives them a little bit of a listen as I'm sharing that excitement, and he is gone at this point. He is on a work trip in California with his kids. That's like a work and play trip. And they're out there, they're having a good time. His wife's going to see the Taylor Swift Eras concert, which I would love to go see for the record. If you don't think Taylor's coming for you, she is. I'm sorry, it's going to happen. And I'm like, dude, let's meet in Vegas and go to this show. And like a few days, he starts kind of asking the wife, like, of course, if you're going to spend money, you want to get her buy-in. Obviously, this means they now have to stop back on their trip. And like the Thursday before the show, which is on Saturday, he's like, yeah, we're in. Well, it was earlier than that. It was probably the Tuesday, Monday. He's like, you know what, I'm in. Like we will meet in the middle, and let's go. And I'm like, great. Now I got these great deals on tickets last time. The same tickets are there, almost the exact same price. And he was like, no way in hell I'm spending that much money for a band I just heard of. And then I had this internal wrestling match, like we kind of set a budget. And it was the same thing. Like we're talking 30-40 bucks to jump from the back to the front row. But very valid. I do not hold uh, you know, saving your money against anybody, especially Durs with a wife and 3 kids. Like you got to take care of it. But like I'm not going to get those seats in my mind. So it was probably that Thursday or Friday. We're like, if we get a good deal, we'll go. If we get a good deal, we'll go. Those tickets dropped like $15, and I was like, screw it, I bought them. And I called him and I was like, listen, I want to go have a good time with my friend. Are you guys going to get a hotel? Like, let's work something out. I gave him the ticket. He let me stay in the hotel. I mean, it was a Vegas hotel on a Saturday night. Like we came out pretty even, I think. So I come home early from a camping trip with the wife and kid, which we were coming home that day anyway. But I had to get to Vegas, so like we camp for one night, we pack up, we take off the next night, so that I can literally just wake up and drive to Vegas. I drive down. I'm in the middle of this Kennedy assassination book that was fire that I still have not finished. And I'm like, great. There's like 3 hours left in this. I've got a 5, 6 hour drive. We're going to finish this book. I can't. Like, I'm listening to it and I'm pulling my hair out, was what I was going to say. Mentally pulling my hair out. I'm like, I can't. I'm listening to Greta Van Fleet. I listen to every album on the way down. And when I'm done listening to every album, I'm just shuffling their music. I listen to it the whole way. Go pick up Durs at the hotel. We cruise over, park, we go in, we see Teddy swims. Not near as good that time because I was just like, get out of here. He was good. He was very good. He was a lot of fun. He is a phenomenal singer. But this time I'm like, I don't want to see you for another second, Mr. Swims. I want Greta. And as we're sitting there waiting, we're having a good time. A photo of me and the Durs. He wasn't super fond of it, but it's adorable. And then they came out, and I specifically pulled the same picture here because it was literally like reliving the greatest night of my life. And the Durs loves it. And one of my favorite moments from that is they play the same set with some very noticeable differences. The drum solo goes a bit differently. A lot of the guitar solos come out pretty differently. Like there's clearly this aspect of improv that's so impressive. And we hit that point. Drum solo's over there, going to the acoustic stage. I turn around, and the Durs just laughs at me, and he's like, "You know this whole set?" And I was like, "Wow." I clearly have been thinking about this a lot in the last 10 days. Set crushes. Everything's amazing. The Durs leaves like we both think it's a 10 out of 10 concert. And quick side note, I now have matching AirPod cases with the Durs, which wasn't even intentional. It just kind of happened, which I don't know if that makes it weird or not. I love you, Durs. So now, like they're gone, they're east. It's over. I'm like, whenever they come west, they'll come back to Vegas. They'll come back to California. They'll come somewhere that I can go see them. But like the further I get from that show, the more I'm just craving it. And fast forward to October. This was all early August. Fast forward to October, and I'll give you the cliff notes. I've bought an SG. I've replaced my guitars with an SG. I have replaced my bass with a P bass that is black and gold. I've bought a record table. I have just been consumed by music like I was when I was young, and just want to listen to records all the time, play instruments, learn Greta songs, and that is what I do with a lot of my nights. Now, we'll talk about the vinyl collection too, because they have 3 albums and an EP. I have 9 Greta records, and I've spent a chunk of change. We'll talk about that sometime soon. I don't know. But fast forward, it's October. I've just been in this musical haze. I just love it. And tour dates drop. Now, at the time, I was at a work conference put on by my work, and I mean, this isn't a huge thing. This is 500-ish people here to see new products, hear new information, see presentation. What are people doing? It's all around software in the legal industry, which you just imagine goes hand in hand with rock and roll. And I am a public speaker to my company to a point. I'm small scale, small time, but I've been presenting, like I'm interacting with people a ton. I am a customer known face to most of these people. Well, in the middle of one day, I get a notification and it's like, hey, here are the tour dates for the second leg of the Starcatcher tour. And I'm like, you motherfuckers, where am I going? I knew I was going. And I pull it up and jumps out. It's right there in the top in the middle. They are going to Austin, Texas. I have a sister who lives in Austin, Texas, who moved away from home like 10 years ago. And I have never been to her hometown since, which I know is fucked up of me. We still see each other a decent amount. We talk plenty. Not enough. She should move back, frankly. Lindsay, you should move back. But I'm like, we're going, get my wife on board. She still says she doesn't like the band. She has hated them forever because she hates Zeppelin. She was starting to come around, although she I don't know if she had admitted it yet, but I'm like, you're coming, which of course isn't my choice to make. Get my sister a ticket. She is coming as well. And we're going to Austin, baby, in May. And I have those tickets and I cannot wait. Hi, with some root beer. Oh, that's cute. Okay. Um, can I just get a spicy chicken sandwich combo? Love you. Yeah, I miss those two. So I've got tickets to Austin. Like I have tickets in hands. It's 6 months away. I can't wait. Like I'm making my family listen to it over Christmas. They make me watch the Eras tour. I make them watch Red Rocks. Like it's just something to look forward to. But I didn't make it. They actually announced, well, I'm going to make it. It's not the end of the story. They announced that they are going to Arizona for a festival. And the Dur's favorite band is the goddamn Red Hot Chili Peppers. And what do you know? Who are the two headliners? It's the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Greta Van Fleet. So like immediately it's like, hey, we're going, right? And he's like, I don't know. And we rope in another good friend of ours, Spencer. And the three of us are kind of like boys trip, boys trip. I think everyone's a little nervous to commit. These are not people that have like had a full-fledged vacation with, but it's like we'll hit the casino, we'll golf, like we will go have a real guys weekend. And obviously you see the tickets. Like we committed and went. We waited way too long. We bought flights, but we waited way too long in an Airbnb. We ended up in this tiny, tiny little room where Spencer gets his own bed. It's somebody's like old tree house almost. I don't know how to describe it. There's a bed, there's a TV. The room with the bed has the bathroom, and then there's another tiny room. And when I say tiny, I mean like the Durs and I slept, like could have held hands through the night in twin beds in a room. Super cute, super cute. So we go. Coincidentally, we end up on a barricade on the side. As you see the list there, Chili Peppers are playing last. Greta's playing on the big stage before them. Jimmy Eat World is in between at a stage that ended up being like a half a mile away. We get there, we see 311, and it's like, hey, we should see Fantagram, and like we talk about it a bit, and it's like, we're just in on Greta. I don't care about it. And we end up deciding we're going to go push down. People start going to Fantagram. We crowd up. We get terrific seats. We are off to the side, but we've got the barricade. We've got that elevation. Great view of the stage. They come out. They play the orchestra medley. They're standing there. They're icons. They play some of the classics that were not my favorites. I love every song. I love every song, which we'll talk about real soon. But hearing the classics, hearing those iconic songs, Highway Tune that has been overplayed so much, seeing them play it live again, it just melts away anything that is in your mind about it. Phenomenal. Lost a little money in the casino. Who cares? It was the time of my life. I remember like in the middle of the first song, Spencer turning to the Durs and I, and just that look of like, yo, this is for real. And it gets like a 9.8 out of me. Chili Peppers were phenomenal. Those two, love you guys, were wrong. They're like, both of those bands were like, they gave them like a 9.8. I don't know why we scored it. The Chili Peppers, I think John Frusciante is the best guitar player of a generation. I think they are a phenomenal band. They're in their 50s. Like seeing them in their 50s is not like seeing Greta in their 20s. Uh, Greta was the kings of that day, and that does pretty much bring us to the end. Like I'm still obsessed. I have tickets to see them. I'm already trying to cope with depression of not having tickets in hand in a month from now after I've seen them in Austin. I want to figure out another trip. I want to find a way to go anywhere. I don't care. I plan to see them any chance I can for the rest of my life. And that leads us to Greta Van Yeet. Couldn't come up with a good name. Don't know if it'll stick, but this is where I'm going to talk about Greta. Now, I'm doing this so I don't just torture my friends and family by talking about them all the time. But if you want to talk Greta, like, let's talk. Hit me up, message me, respond in the comments, like all that shit that people beg for. I don't want it for like monetization or attention. I just want to talk about the band. So, welcome to my shitty YouTube channel. We are going to have some fun. We're going to talk some Greta, and I'm never going to beg you to like and subscribe because I don't care if you do. If I just do this for myself forever, I'm going to enjoy it. I don't really know how to end the video. I guess I turn it off. But like, goddamn, that band is so good, man. Goddamn, they're